All right, I have my vector line art as my black bread layer locked on top here in Photoshop. I brought it in as an EPS from the vector line art that I saved right here onto a brand new Photoshop file. I said Photoshop file new. That was 11 by 14 inches at 350 pixels per inch. It should be no smaller than that. Remember, your vector can fill up any space. So I make it look good on that format. It can be portrait format or landscape format, whatever fits your illustration. Then I locked the white background layer underneath and renamed it blank white. The background you have to double click in order to rename it and to be able to lock it. And then I have this unlocked layer that I marked yellow that's an empty layer between my white bread and my black bread. This is where the flat color is going to go. The reference for all of this is under the assignment, on the assignment page, and it is the Introduction to Digital Coloring. It's called An Exhaustive Explanation of Digital Coloring. So, goes through the whole steps. Right now we're at this step, the vector line art. The next step is to do flat color. Right? So, flatting colors. I want you to actually all find this presentation. And you're going to do a screen grab of these flatting colors. Just for your own knowledge. So how do I get there? I go to the home page. I'm going to open it in a new tab. And we're going to go to assignments. Remember, this is where all the shortcuts to where you post your assignments are. And it's also where all the supplemental educational materials are. Like the exhaustive explanation. Click on the exhaustive explanation. Edson, you can do this with us too, because this is going to help you with your coloring later. No matter where you are in the process, I want you to be able to know where these slides are. Okay, now go to slide 4. So this is under assignments from the home page, and it's right underneath Digital Assignment 5. It's an exhaustive explanation of digital coloring. These are what are called the supplementary materials. You click on that, it will open up these slides. Slide 4 is where it gives the flatting colors. So what the flatting colors are is in basic color printing, which really started in the 1930s, but didn't get used widely until the 1950s, is a mix of cyan, magenta, and yellow color inks with black ink on white paper. And it mixes those inks by using tiny little dots. So these are the formulations. You can see that there's 3 distinct yellows. That's 25% yellow. That's 50% yellow. That's 100% yellow, right? Those are distinct from each other and easy to see. Why don't they have 10 yellows? Well, because then they become a lot less distinct from each other in basic printing. Because we're talking about printing on newsprint or on cardboard, on materials that don't take the ink very well. So what we're going to do is take a targeted screen grab of this grid of ink formulations, because these colors still today are the clearest colors for printing, right? So Command-Shift-4 on a Mac will give us a targeted screen grab. You can see the crosshairs. Then I drag, click and drag a square over it, and then I let go, and it will copy that to the desktop. Let it do its thing until it disappears from the corner. What we're going to do is use those as our flatting colors. It's Command-Shift-4 for a target, and that will be on the final 2. Really helpful to know how to do screen grabs, right? So you have instant access to pixels. So find it on your desktop. Mine's here. Now I'm going to drag and drop it, just like I did with the EPS file, right into my digital coloring. And I'm going to make it small and put it on a corner where it's not overlapping my line art. These colors are distinct enough. They are easy to select, even when this small. Something really weird happened. Oh, I see. That's bizarre. It didn't bring it in as a new layer. It should have. So I have to recreate my flat color layer. So it should have come in as a new smart object. Not sure why mine didn't. So I'll make a new flat color layer. And now this new smart object, I'm going to label it red, and I'm going to call it flatting reference color. All right. Now, how does this work in professional digital coloring? It works this way. You are handed line art as a digital colorist, and the first step is to fill all the shapes behind the line art, all the distinct shapes of local color, not with local color, but with these really easy to identify colors. These are called flatting colors. There's a great blog called Flattened that tries to find this process for comics out in the world. So here we have the Sandman comics, very famous Neil Gaiman comic book run. And here you have the line art. This line art is a lot more complicated than our line art, right? It's got lots of gray values. This is what the flatting color looked like to make it really easy to distinguish. Look at the landmass here, the two different pinks, right? The bright blue, the bright salmon, the sickly green. Then in the background, those are the flatting colors, which took a long time to do, to kind of cut out from the gray, just to show all these things that could be colored. Then what was the final coloring? This, right? So it takes those flatting colors and then replaces them with the colors they actually want. So from this to this, right? And you can find other examples on that blog, maybe of comics that you enjoy. So you could also, because we're doing all steps of the coloring, we don't have an entry-level position and then we take it off from them like an assistant. They're usually who do the flatting. We can just fill with what we call the local flat color, the color we think it should be, but it's averaged out. So I use Wonder Woman through these slides because Wonder Woman has primary colors as a costume, right? Primary colors, dark hair, skin tone, golden lasso. That's her colors. She also has silver bracelets. Those can be helpful for effects. But notice in flat color, it doesn't look silver, it doesn't look gold, just single tone. But if you choose the right single colors, local flat color can look really good. Notice how it looks like she has silver bracelets, but there is only one color, because black and white are not colors. Black and white have never been colors. That's color theory, right? White is the presence of all the light colors, the full spectrum, and in pigment, light is the absence of any color. It's the blank white page. Black is the absence of all light pigment, like in a dark room, right? And in pigment, black is the combination of all the colors in pigment. But when you combine all the pigment colors we actually have, because we don't have perfect pigments, you just get a muddy brown. So in order to get black, we have to print with an extra pigment. So we have the primary colors, cyan, magenta, yellow for pigment, and then we add black to get more contrast. So is her hair really blue? Well, as far as the flat coloring, local color says, yes, her hair is blue, but in the shadows it's black, right? And her bracelets, are they really gray? Yes, they're really gray, but they can also be white when they're reflecting and black when they're in shadow. That's still flat color, because it's just one color within each local thing. So those are all professional examples, as is this, of Wonder Woman just being completely finished with flat color because they chose the right colors, right? But if you can't decide on the right colors, that's where flatting comes in. Flatting is just get it done. Fill up the shapes. And I actually have no clue. I'll be totally transparent with you. I like my drawing. I have no idea what I'm going to do with the color. And what I need to do to figure that out is to look for some inspiration.
Why is there local flat colors so different from the flat?
It just depends on what you want from the actual illustration, right? So they just wanted this to look like a dirty knight. This is like, let's say it's for a Game of Thrones Hedge Knight comic. So the flatter made it so that they could differentiate the skin tone from the beard, from the hair, from the collar, from the bag, from the dog snout to the teeth to the tongue, on and on and on. Everything's a distinct flatting color. But then the colorist decided, I want it to look kind of dull and boring and worn down, so everything's just its own variation of brown. But they're still slightly different. And it makes it so you can easily select them. So, because I have no clue, let me just start filling this with flatting colors. How do I do this? How is this set up? This is the key as you're beginning coloring that will save you a lot of grief, though you do learn from mistakes. Lock with the padlock. It's kind of like Illustrator. Lock with the padlock every layer except for your coloring layer, so you don't accidentally color on the wrong layer. Then you're going to use, and you can do your mouse, I like to use the stylus still for like clear selections. You're going to move between your black bread layer and your cheese layer, right? Between your line art, vector line art layer and your flat color layer. And you're only going to use two tools for flat coloring. You are going to use the magic wand with contiguous turned on, and you are going to use the paint bucket, which if you've never used it is underneath the gradient tool. And this goes back to very early digital imaging. So this is how it works. First, I use the magic wand with contiguous on, and I find a shape that I am absolutely sure is fully contained on my line art. So for instance, this little speech bubble, there are no gaps in it. It's fully a contained shape, right? So on the layer that's locked, I use my magic wand and I click inside that shape, not on the black lines, on the shape inside. That selects it. Then I move to my flat color layer. And remember, selections move between layers in Photoshop. So if I turn off the black lines, you see what's selected on this new blank layer. And then I use my paint bucket, but I need a color to paint, right? And if I was going to use Photoshop to pick the color, I could double click here in the foreground color, get the color selector. Or if I have the color option here, I could use the color selector here. And you see it will change it in my foreground. If I want like a hot pink. Or I could use swatches, right? Pastels are a pretty good flatting palette. I'm not going to fill with gradients right now. I'm just doing simple flats. This is a terrible way, unfortunately, to find colors that you want. It's like way too many options. It's like looking at a Crayola box that's full of millions of colors. So instead, I'm going to show you how when you're on the paint bucket, you can hold down the Option key and it changes it to what's called the eyedropper tool, which will let you steal a color from anywhere that's open within your Photoshop file. So I'm going to choose from the flatting color. I chose that green, but if I wanted to choose this green, I could, and I could swap it. Or I could choose this blue. Or I could choose one of the yellows, like the 25% yellow. Notice white is not on there, right? Notice black is not on there. Because these are all mixes of, that's not a black. That is 100% cyan, 100% yellow, 100% blue. No, 100% cyan, magenta, and blue. That's the darkest you can get with just the color inks, right, without black. All right, so now I go through. And for flatting color, I can do that with every contained shape. So I move between the magic wand and the black red layer, go to the flat color layer, hold down Option, find the color I want, in this case a bright green, and fill it in. Go to my black line art layer, use the magic wand, pick a contained shape, go to my flat color layer, use the paint bucket, find a color, in this case a blue, and fill it in. Now for my monster, right, I want it to feel kind of aggressive. So why don't I bring in, at this point, other color references?